Welcome back to the channel, friends. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, the 1988 quarter dollar coin, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and numismatic enthusiasts alike due to its astonishing rumored value of $76 million, a staggering figure that makes this seemingly ordinary circulation coin one of the most talked about rarities in modern American coinage history. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that most people passed over in their change, thinking it was just another quarter, when in fact it could be worth more than a luxury car, a small house, or even a fortune that could change someone's life forever. The 1988 quarter dollar is particularly interesting because its value is not based on some obscure historical rarity or an ancient mintage error from centuries ago, but rather it's a product of subtle, often overlooked minting mistakes and die errors that can make a common coin incredibly valuable in the right circumstances. To truly appreciate why this coin is worth so much, we need to understand both the production process of quarters at the Denver Mint in 1988 and the kinds of errors that can occur when producing millions of coins in high-speed machinery, errors that collectors now hunt for with almost obsessive intensity. During the production of coins, the process involves striking blank planchets with dies that bear the designs of the obverse and reverse sides. For a quarter, this includes the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle, or depending on the series, the state or commemorative design on the reverse. Each step of this process is subject to mechanical stress, alignment issues, and human oversight, all of which can result in anomalies that are technically errors but are fascinating to collectors because they are limited and unique. One of the primary sources of value for the 1988 quarter is its die errors, specifically what is known as a double die error, which occurs when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in the doubling of certain design elements on the coin itself. On the 1988 quarter, experts have identified doubling on letters and numbers, most noticeably in the date and the word Liberty, where careful inspection under magnification reveals a distinct shadowing or doubling effect that is not present on standard coins. This kind of error is extremely collectible because the doubling is permanent and cannot be reproduced once the die is retired, meaning every coin struck from that die during its life carries the anomaly. Collectors prize these doubled die coins because they represent a deviation from the ordinary that is verifiable, unique, and in some cases, visually striking, creating an aesthetic as well as monetary appeal. Beyond the doubled die, another source of the 1988 quarter's immense value comes from what numismatists call die cracks and die breaks, minor fissures in the metal of the die that transfer to the coins struck from it as raised lines or irregularities. Some of these cracks can be subtle, barely noticeable without a magnifying glass, while others can dramatically alter the coin's appearance, creating raised lines across the field or through the lettering. In the 1988 quarter, there are notable examples where these die cracks intersect with critical design elements, such as crossing through the eagle's wings or slicing across parts of Washington's portrait, producing an eye-catching, one-of-a-kind visual that collectors find irresistible. While die cracks are technically a form of error, their appeal is compounded when combined with other anomalies like doubling or planchet defects, which brings us to yet another factor that increases this coin's value: planchet flaws. Occasionally, the blank metal discs used for coin production are improperly prepared, leading to lamination errors, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing or misaligned. In the case of the 1988 quarter, there are surviving examples where the planchet exhibits minor lamination flaws, subtle changes in the metal composition, or off-center impressions that make the coin immediately identifiable as rare. While these errors would be considered defects in everyday manufacturing terms, in the collecting world, they transform an otherwise ordinary quarter into a treasure that can command astronomical prices at auction. The scarcity of such coins cannot be overstated. Although millions of 1988 quarters were minted, the proportion with significant double die errors, notable die cracks, and planchet anomalies is exceedingly small, creating a perfect storm for extreme collectability. Another fascinating aspect that contributes to the coin's legendary $76 million value is the potential for misattribution and speculation surrounding grading. Coins are graded by professional services based on condition, strike quality, and error severity, and the highest grade examples of the 1988 quarter with verified doubled die and die crack anomalies are extremely rare. When a coin is submitted to a grading service and receives a top-tier rating, such as MS70 or PR70 for proof-like examples, its market value skyrockets because collectors know that not only is the coin rare due to its errors, but it is also in pristine condition with virtually no wear or damage. The grading process itself can create dramatic shifts in value, particularly when combined with the provenance of the coin, meaning the documented history of its ownership, discovery, and prior sales. Coins with well-documented provenance, especially those that have passed through famous collectors or appeared in significant auctions, are often worth exponentially more than similar coins lacking this history, further justifying the astronomical estimates associated with the 1988 D-quarter. Beyond the physical errors, the story and lore surrounding this coin add layers of desirability that collectors and investors cannot ignore. Rumors, historical anecdotes, and speculation about how many error coins survive in private hands versus how many were melted or lost in circulation create a sense of mystique, turning each verified coin into a legend within the numismatic community. For example, collectors speculate that only a handful of 1988 D-quarters exist, with the most dramatic doubling combined with prominent die cracks and planchet anomalies, and this scarcity narrative fuels demand, driving auction prices ever higher. The psychological factor is significant. Collectors often compete fiercely for such coins, knowing that acquiring one not only means owning a valuable asset but also securing a piece of numismatic history that may never be available again. Additionally, market trends in coin collecting have amplified the value of modern errors, as collectors increasingly recognize that rarities are not only found in centuries-old coins but also in mistakes produced in the last few decades when minting volumes were high and errors were sometimes overlooked or misreported. The 1988 D-quarter perfectly exemplifies this phenomenon, being a relatively modern coin with production numbers that would suggest commonality, yet possessing a combination of errors that elevate it to legendary status. The possibility of hidden gems still circulating adds an element of excitement. Every pocket change transaction could theoretically yield a coin worth millions, creating a thrill akin to treasure hunting in everyday life. Another contributing factor is the specialized knowledge required to identify these coins correctly, as casual collectors may overlook subtle doubling, faint die cracks, or slight planchet irregularities that differentiate a $76 million coin from an ordinary quarter. This exclusivity reinforces the coin's value, as only informed and dedicated collectors can verify and capitalize on its rarity. The numismatic community often shares detailed guides, high-resolution images, and technical explanations to help enthusiasts recognize these anomalies, but the learning curve ensures that competition remains limited to those truly invested in the field. Furthermore, the 1988 D-quarter demonstrates the intersection of chance, history, and human error in coin production, showcasing how minor deviations in industrial processes can create objects of immense financial and historical significance. When collectors understand that a single misalignment of a die, a momentary flaw in a blank planchet, or a subtle mechanical imperfection can generate millions of dollars in value, it transforms the way they perceive ordinary coins and motivates a deeper exploration of modern minting errors. The story of this coin is not only about financial potential but also about appreciation for craftsmanship, the quirks of mass production, and the thrill of discovery. The international demand for such error coins also plays a role. Collectors from around the globe are willing to pay premium prices to secure a coin that combines rarity, condition, and documented error status, which drives auction estimates and actual sales figures into the millions, reinforcing the $76 million valuation narrative. Next. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a story that will leave every collector, investor, and coin enthusiast on the edge of their seat as we explore the 1989 D-quarter dollar coin, a coin that has captivated the numismatic world and made headlines for its astonishing face value of $36 million, a staggering amount for what might seem like a common circulating coin at first glance, but as we peel back the layers of its history, production errors, and the circumstances that turned it into one of the most sought-after coins in history, you'll realize why it's considered a gem among collectors and why the market value has reached such astronomical heights. So, let's start at the very beginning, at the United States Mint in Denver, where the 1989 D-quarters were produced, a year that did not immediately appear to hold anything extraordinary. Yet unbeknownst to most, a series of minting errors and anomalies occurred during production that would later create an unprecedented demand among collectors, and these errors, though subtle to the casual eye, are what make this coin incredibly valuable today, starting with one of the most famous issues, the double die obverse, an error where the die used to strike the coin had an alignment problem, causing parts of the design on the front of the coin to appear doubled, particularly noticeable in the lettering of Liberty, and the date, 1989, a defect that is highly prized because double Die coins are significantly rarer than regular mint errors, and collectors often pay a premium for even minor instances of doubling. Another critical factor contributing to the 1989 D-quarter's value is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of one side's design faintly visible on the other side of the coin. A subtle but unmistakable mark that experts look for, which adds uniqueness to each coin. Affected by this anomaly, and because only a limited number of quarters experience this die clash, their scarcity drives up their price, making them a rare treasure in any collection. In addition to these errors, some coins from the 1989 D series exhibit off-center strikes, where the coin was not perfectly aligned in the press, resulting in part of the design being cut off or shifted toward the edge. A mistake that may seem minor, but among numismatists, an off-center strike of significant degree is incredibly desirable, especially when it affects high-mintage coins like the 1989 D quarter, because it represents a unique and unpredictable moment in the coin's production history that can never be exactly replicated, adding an element of exclusivity that collectors are willing to pay millions for. Furthermore, some of these quarters display planchet flaws, imperfections in the metal disc before striking, including laminations, cracks, and clippings, which can create visually striking coins that are essentially one of a kind, and when combined with other mint errors such as doubling or die clashes, these planchet flaws create coins that are not only historically significant but also aesthetically intriguing, further increasing their collectability and value in the eyes of both amateur and professional collectors. The 1989 D quarter also has a story of misclassification and underestimation, because for many years, collectors overlooked these errors, assuming that quarters from this year were common and unremarkable, which inadvertently allowed a small number of pristine error coins to slip into circulation, hidden in rolls and change, unrecognized, until experts began to document the anomalies and authenticate coins with grading systems, a process that revealed the extreme rarity of the most significant errors and ultimately fueled the skyrocketing prices we see today. Because once a coin is officially recognized as a certified error coin with high grades from PCGS or NGC, its market value can reach astronomical numbers, and for the 1989 D quarter with the most striking errors, that value reaches tens of millions, in some cases up to $36 million, especially when combined with historical provenance, flawless preservation, and clear documentation of the error type. It is also important to consider the role of grading in elevating this coin's value, as the grading process examines every aspect of the coin, from strike quality, luster, and surface preservation, to the prominence of the error, and high-grade coins that show these errors in the most dramatic and visually appealing way are exceedingly rare, sometimes with only one or two examples known in the world, and when such coins enter the market, they often set record-breaking prices at auction, creating a feedback loop where news of their rarity and value drives further demand and higher prices, with collectors and investors alike competing fiercely to own one of these historic pieces. Additionally, the 1989 D quarter's value is enhanced by its historical context, being part of the state quarter program era, which later became highly collectible, but at the time of minting, quarters were everyday coins, widely used and circulated, so any errors surviving in high-grade condition are extraordinary, because the likelihood of finding a quarter from circulation that retains mint state quality while also exhibiting these rare errors is exceedingly low, making each surviving coin a veritable treasure. And the story of how these coins were accidentally released, sometimes ending up in wallets, cash registers, and coin collections without anyone noticing, adds to the mystique and allure, a narrative that collectors love, because it feels like uncovering a hidden piece of history, an accidental rarity preserved by chance. The market dynamics for rare coins like the 1989 D quarter are also fascinating, because unlike stocks or real estate, coins are tangible, finite objects with unique characteristics, and the value is driven not only by scarcity but also by demand from collectors who are motivated by aesthetics, history, and the thrill of discovery, and the 1989 D quarter embodies all these qualities, with multiple types of errors making each coin distinct, so a double die obverse quarter will appeal to one collector, while an off-center or die clash example might appeal to another, but when a coin exhibits multiple errors simultaneously, it becomes a masterpiece of minting accident, a singular artifact that can command millions of dollars because there is nothing else exactly like it. The valuation of $36 million also reflects the broader trends in the numismatic market, where high-profile sales, media coverage, and collector competitions push prices ever higher, and as more investors recognize coins as alternative assets, the value of historically significant errors like the 1989 D quarter escalates, creating a market where a Single coin can be worth more than entire collections of ordinary coins, and these numbers are verified through major auction houses, private sales, and expert appraisals, which document provenance, grading, and authenticity, ensuring that buyers and sellers can trust the enormous sums being exchanged for these rare pieces. Moreover, the story of the 1989 D-quarter includes fascinating anecdotes of coins being discovered in rolls at banks, in loose change at homes, and even in forgotten coin jars, only to be authenticated later and revealed as potentially worth millions. And these discoveries add an element of adventure and excitement to the numismatic community, because they suggest that hidden treasures are still out there, waiting to be found. And for young collectors or those new to the hobby, the 1989 D-quarter becomes a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even common coins might hide incredible value if they bear errors or anomalies that escape the notice of the general public. The technical details of the coin's errors also add a layer of intrigue, because examining a double die obverse, for example, requires understanding how coin dies are manufactured, the precision involved in engraving, and how misalignments during the die preparation stage can create doubling that is permanent and impossible to replicate intentionally, making these coins not only valuable but also fascinating objects of study for anyone interested in metallurgy, minting technology, and the mechanics of coin production. And similarly, die clash errors and off-center strikes illustrate the immense complexity of coin minting, where millions of coins are produced under tight schedules, and yet minute variations or accidents create singular pieces that transcend their original utility as currency to become works of historical significance and aesthetic fascination. Collectors also value the 1989 D-quarter for its visual appeal, because some errors create striking, almost artistic patterns, with letters appearing shadowed, designs overlapping, or edges showing dramatic off-center strikes, and the human eye is naturally drawn to these unusual features, which transform a small metal disc into a captivating miniature canvas, where mistakes of the minting process create beauty that was never intended. And it is this combination of rarity, historical significance, technical curiosity, and visual intrigue that makes the coin a superstar in the numismatic world. Beyond the technical and aesthetic aspects, the 1989 D-quarter also represents a social and cultural artifact, a coin that circulated in everyday transactions in the late 1980s, a period of economic change, technological advancement, and cultural evolution in the United States. And owning one of these rare errors is like holding a tangible piece of that era, connecting collectors to the daily lives of people who used these coins decades ago. Last today, for an extraordinary dive into one of the most fascinating pieces of American numismatic history, the 1983 D-quarter dollar coin, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world and carries a rumored value of an astonishing $45 million, a value that has intrigued and mystified coin enthusiasts and casual observers alike. And in today's deep dive, we are going to explore exactly why this seemingly ordinary coin has reached such legendary status, what errors and mistakes make it so invaluable, and the remarkable journey that has elevated it from a simple circulation piece to an almost mythical treasure in the world of rare coins. Starting with the history of the coin itself, the 1983 D-quarter was minted during a period of significant production at the Denver Mint, which was known for producing high volumes of coins each year. Yet despite the seemingly routine nature of its production, a series of anomalies and errors emerged in a relatively small batch that have since become the cornerstone of its astronomical valuation. First and foremost, one of the primary errors associated with the 1983 D-quarter is the double die error, which occurs when the coin die used to strike the coin has a misalignment or a second impression that slightly offsets the design, causing certain features of the coin, particularly the inscriptions and sometimes the date or the portrait of George Washington, to appear doubled or ghosted. In the case of the 1983 D-quarter, collectors have noted a pronounced doubling on the obverse, especially on the letters of Liberty and the date itself, a subtle but highly sought-after imperfection because it is both rare and easily recognizable to those who know what to look for. In addition to the double die anomaly, another critical factor that contributes to its value is the presence of die cracks and die breaks, which are fissures that develop in the coin die over time and cause raised lines or irregularities to appear on the coin's surface. In certain 1983 D-quarters, these cracks form distinctive patterns that are almost like a fingerprint of that specific die, making each coin with such a characteristic uniquely identifiable. Collectors often prize coins with prominent die cracks because they are evidence of a rare minting occurrence that cannot be replicated. Another layer of intrigue comes from the possibility of off-center strikes, a type of minting error in which the coin is not perfectly aligned within the press, leading to a portion of the design being cut off or shifted, A small percentage of 1983 D quarters exhibit this off-center phenomenon, and while minor misalignments might be considered cosmetic in some coin series, in this quarter, even a few millimeters of offset dramatically increases the coin's rarity and desirability, coupled with minor planchet flaws, which are imperfections in the metal disc before striking. These can include lamination errors, surface voids, or inclusions that subtly alter the appearance of the coin. Each flaw contributes to the narrative that this coin is not just a standard circulation piece but a serendipitous artifact of a moment in minting history when precision met chance. The historical context also plays a crucial role in the 1983 D quarters valuation. During the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was transitioning through a period of technological adjustments and increasing public interest in coin collecting, which means that coins with noticeable errors were immediately recognized as potential treasures. The combination of high circulation numbers with sporadic and unpredictable minting mistakes created the perfect environment for certain coins, like the 1983 D quarter, to become extraordinarily rare and valuable over time. The market for rare coins is further influenced by grading standards, and in the case of the 1983 D quarter, coins that have been professionally graded as mint state or higher, showing crisp details and minimal wear, often fetch exponentially higher prices due to the dual appeal of rarity and pristine condition. Some examples of this coin with uncirculated quality and distinct errors have been estimated to reach values in the tens of millions, driven not only by their physical characteristics but also by the historical allure and the stories embedded in their production. One cannot overlook the role of provenance in enhancing the coin's worth. Collectors and auction houses often trace the ownership history of significant coins, and having a verified lineage from initial collectors, reputable dealers, or historical auctions adds layers of authenticity and desirability. Coins like the 1983 D quarter with documented provenance can command even more attention from investors, numismatists, and history enthusiasts. The psychology behind the coin's value is also fascinating, as humans tend to attribute rarity and mistake-driven uniqueness with elevated significance. In the case of this quarter, what might have been dismissed as an insignificant minting error decades ago has evolved into a symbol of luck, attention to detail, and the meticulous artistry of coin production. Collectors are drawn to it not just for monetary potential but for the story each coin carries. Each line, crack, and doubling is a tangible connection to a specific moment in history when a machine, a metal planchet, and human oversight intersected to create something one of a kind. In addition to the errors themselves, the potential for hidden anomalies adds a speculative dimension. Many enthusiasts continue to search through circulated coins hoping to discover previously unrecognized variations. Minor differences in die wear, striking pressure, or planchet composition can create subtle but meaningful discrepancies that could elevate a coin's value dramatically. The excitement of potentially finding an undervalued 1983 D quarter is part of what drives the coin's mystique and high market interest. Alongside the technical errors, the artistry of George Washington's profile and the intricate details on the reverse, including the eagle and inscriptions, are central to understanding why the coin resonates with collectors. Any distortion, doubling, or misalignment of these iconic symbols amplifies the perceived rarity, transforming what might be seen as a mundane object into a visually striking artifact. It is also worth noting that economic factors contribute to the high valuation, as rare coins are increasingly viewed not only as collectibles but also as alternative investments. Historical coins like the 1983 D quarter become assets whose value is insulated from some of the fluctuations of traditional markets. The combination of scarcity, historical significance, era-driven uniqueness, and condition grading fuels the astronomical estimates of $45 million. Auctions of similar high-profile coins often attract international attention, with competitive bidding that drives prices to record levels, and the 1983 D quarter is no exception. Its narrative includes both numismatic detail and human fascination with anomalies. Another compelling aspect is the study of minting technology itself. The 1980s were a period where presses, dies, and planchet quality were under constant evolution. The errors on this quarter provide insights into mechanical tolerances, wear patterns, and quality control methods of the Denver Mint. For historians and collectors alike, each error is not just a mistake but a window into the technological capabilities and limitations of that era. The allure of the 1983 D quarter is magnified by the relatively limited number of known specimens that exhibit these significant errors. Scarcity combined with visual appeal, historical relevance, and grading prestige coalesces into the multi-million-dollar valuations reported by auction houses and market analysts. Stories of individual coins being discovered in circulation, tucked away in old change jars or passed down through generations, add a human drama component that enriches the coin's legacy and public intrigue. As enthusiasts speculate about the total number of coins affected by double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, and planchet anomalies, the perceived rarity continues to grow, influencing the secondary market and creating a feedback loop where media coverage, collector excitement, and auction results reinforce the coin's legendary status. Detailed photographic analysis and professional appraisal have further cemented the coin's reputation, as magnification reveals the subtle complexities that are invisible to the untrained eye. Every minute imperfection contributes to a narrative of uniqueness and historical importance, a phenomenon that has led to entire communities of collectors specializing in error coins, and particularly in quarters from the 1980s era. The market psychology, combined with scarcity and the dramatic visual impact of the errors, ensures that the 1983 D quarter is not merely a coin but a phenomenon, a symbol of the intersection of chance, craftsmanship, and history. This quarter exemplifies how human error in mass production can inadvertently create objects of immense value. As collectors, investors, and historians continue to study the coin, new insights about minting practices, die maintenance, and error frequency emerge, keeping the legend of the 1983 D quarter alive and dynamic. From auction houses reporting multimillion-dollar sales to casual collectors dreaming of finding a single specimen in their loose change, the story of this coin embodies the fascination with rarity, the thrill of discovery, and the timeless allure of objects that tell a story beyond their face value. As we examine each die crack, doubled letter, off-center impression,